Do I speak in anything?
Just talk, just normal.
The last words of a self-described cold-blooded killer.
To my and the victims' families, who I've caused so much pain and tears, I am so deeply sorry.
Larry Lonchar, responsible for murdering 3 people in DeKalb County. From the beginning, he wanted what the state wanted. And on November 14, 1996, that wish came true.
To the people of the state of Georgia, thank you for killing me. You thought you was punishing me, but instead you rewarded me by sending me to a better place, heaven. Jesus Christ died for my sins too.
Lonchar's final words, in fact the final hours of the last 23 Georgia executions, are all recorded on audio tape. Originally done to prove the state followed procedures, the tapes may soon wind up playing a much different role, helping to put Georgia's electric chair out of business for good.
Press your buttons. 1, 2, 3. The execution now has begun.
Once they press those buttons, 3 different surges of electricity will flow through this chair, lasting about 2 minutes. Usually the prisoner dies of heart failure. But if he doesn't, if he's still alive, he has to sit here for at least 5 more minutes, waiting for the machine to reset so they can try again. That has happened twice in Georgia. The first time in 1984. Alpha Otis Stevens, convicted of killing a Twiggs County contractor.
There was one small jerk from the condemned at the time the execution was initiated.
But watching Stevens after the electrocution finishes, the execution team realizes something is wrong.
It appears, and the doctors agree with me, that he's still breathing. Repeat the execution. Very well. On my count of 3, you press your buttons. 1.
Stevens is eventually pronounced dead at 12:37 a.m., 19 minutes after the first surge of electricity. On the tape, Jackson Prison Superintendent Ralph Kemp tries to explain to his boss back in Atlanta.
Well, Ed says that he just simply is not a good conductor, that he didn't draw the amps that the others did. That it's just one of those things.
But death penalty opponents are already using the execution tapes in their fight to stop all state-sponsored electrocutions.
The motion that was filed was very specific in its challenge to the electric chair on the basis that it violates the Eighth Amendment's cruel and unusual prohibitions.
So far, the state Supreme Court has not ruled, but a lower court has. After listening to the execution of Alpha Stevens and looking at other evidence, Fulton County Superior Court Judge Wendy Shube ruled the electric chair unconstitutional in a murder case she will soon hear. Not so fast, says Georgia's Attorney General.
We're going to fight to defend those statutes at every opportunity we're called upon to do that.
Thurber Baker says until the Supreme Court rules otherwise, electrocution is still the law of the land. But listen to how Judge Shube describes that law. Electrocution inherently involves lingering death, bodily mutilation and distortion, and physical violence indicative of inhumanity and barbarity.
Of the 3 executions that, as the warden of this institution, I did not witness what she has described.
Tony Turpin spent nearly 4 years as the warden at Jackson, supervising the last 3 executions. He still knows many of the 128 men who live on G Block, Georgia's death row. Killers hoping their appeal makes it here before their execution date.
You doing okay? What's going on?
Same old same.
All right.
In November 1996, in a small prison building marked H5, Turpin watched the final hours of a triple murderer who had refused to let his attorneys fight his execution.
My first execution was Larry Lonchar.
That's the final statement to Larry G. Lonchar. I appreciate it.
But the warden's first execution would wind up becoming the second in Georgia that didn't go according to plan.
There are signs of life by the condemned. It appears that he is breathing.
Despite his wish, Larry Lonchar did not die, at least not right away. He survived the first 2-minute cycle of electricity. A doctor testifying later for the defense said Lonchar was probably in excruciating pain for at least 7 minutes before a second blast of electricity finally carried out the order of the court. The state says no one can truly know whether Lonchar felt anything.
The physician has confirmed death.
Even if the state Supreme Court decides this form of execution is cruel and unusual, All current death row inmates would automatically face death by lethal injection. The handmade oak chair in this room replaced with a gurney and IVs. So no matter what, you think we'll still have executions in Georgia?
Yes, that's not going to change.
The only change, perhaps, is what will happen on the next execution tape. You realize you may have been the warden for the last electrocution in Georgia.
That's a possibility, yes it is.